If you care about the watch you wear or the shoes you wear or the car you drive, there will always be brand affinity around those things. Yeah. So I think e-commerce will be alive and well for a very, very long time.
This is Velocitize Talks, and I'm Andy North. I'm joined today by Tony Delmarcado, COO and co-founder of Hawke Media. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me out.
So let's just start with Hawke. You guys are moving and grooving. You've got you were listed on the top 10 happiest places to work, and you just opened a new office. So tell me about some exciting things going on.
Yeah, so we just recently opened a new office off of Barrington and Expo. So the ability for us to design and build something that was really catered around our functions and the neighborhoods and all the cross-functional collaboration across teams that we had kind of set forth to do was really nice. So that's good. We had a big office move. We have a lot of really exciting opportunity in New York. We're opening an office in New York right now. Yeah, we've got somebody at the tip of the spear out there, which I probably won't talk too much about, but that's really exciting for us. Geographic expansion is a big part of our business. We're also acquiring and partnering smaller agencies for a lot of reasons that probably aren't worth going into right now. We've got a great growth trajectory when it comes to hiring. We've hired a bunch of people. We've got about 143 full-time employees in the office now, looking to add bodies in New York as well as perhaps in secondary and tertiary markets like Utah and Idaho and things like that. There's some good talent out there. And then we're just really excited. We've got a fund off on the side that we're using to raise capital for growth stage, direct-to-consumer companies, as well as the picks and shovels around kind of the e-commerce ecosystem. We've closed, I think, $1.4 million of our $10 million round there, and should be at 2 within the next 60 days. So got some good stuff going on. Already deployed some of that capital. And, yeah.
Part of your approach with Hawke is that you are the outsourced CMO for your clients. Talk about that, and how can you outsource a function that would seem so inherently vital that it be inside a company, and how is that working?
I think in much the same way that bookkeeping, accounting, tech development, et cetera, have been outsourced in the past. Marketing is something that, given a specific expertise, which we've accumulated over a number of years, and now as a very large and strong unified front, it makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of businesses that are really great at making shoes, making blue jeans, making shirts, making glasses, making technology, whatever it might be. They might not necessarily know about marketing. We do. Some people are nervous when they go to a market. I'm not. We're really good at it. And for me, that's part of having an outsourced CMO, in the same way that you take stock in the fact that your lawyer knows what's up or your tax accountant knows what's up. We really feel like being an outsourced CMO is really important there. As far as understanding, the brand and the nuance of the messaging, that takes time, like any other relationship. We're a month-to-month consultancy, and we kind of pride ourselves on the fact that if people don't like us, they can bail. But being able to build a relationship over time with people helps us understand the nuance of that. And my greatest satisfaction is when a brand really has that reaction where they go, oh man, these guys get me. They get me, they get what I'm about, they get what I'm trying to do. Sometimes that takes a weekend, sometimes that takes 3 months, kind of depends on the company. But I think that if you work with the right company, you can definitely outsource core functions, provided that they're considerate enough and experienced enough to really pay dividends on that stuff.
That monthly business model is fascinating. I would assume that it would also build some intense loyalty, given that they always know that if we needed to get out, we could, but we really want to stay because they know us, they get us.
Yeah, it's self-selecting in a lot of ways, right? So if you have somebody who comes in and they've worked with 3 or 4 other agencies, or they've had other people help them out, and 30 or 60 or 90 days into an engagement, they say, oh, why isn't X or Y or Z happening? The way that I look at that is that's sort of a self-selecting group of people, because they're not totally and wholly committed to one singular vision or campaign or idea. When we work with people and we provide a great return, whether that's on their marketing dollar, or we really, like I said earlier, we understand them, and then we're deeply entrenched in sort of their ethos and their psychology and what they're about, like that's hard to find, you know?
Yeah.
I make the analogy a lot where it's like dating, right? Where people are dating and they just go, oh man, they get me, right? Having a marketing agency, it's tough to find that. And so in our consultancy model, on a month-to-month basis, we generally find that the people that stick get that we get them,
Right.
if that makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a great model, I think, and it's a good comparison with dating. Tell us about The Nest. You guys created this program. What is it? How's it going?
We haven't seen a lot of really successful co-retail spaces, and that was the original thesis, is we said, you know, we work with, at this point now, over 1,500 different brands. Most of them sell something online, and they've never really had a great shot at putting their product in front of consumers on foot traffic, in a store. And so when we did The Nest on Abbott Kinney, the idea was, you know, can we get brands to generate foot traffic revenue, right? And then also, of course, we're encouraging all those brands to include discount tags online, coupons for first access, exclusivity, and scarcity around products. And it was a really cool experiment that I think, honestly, I think every brand in some way, shape, or form should test their mettle with just like a walk-in store. And we did great for a lot of the brands that we worked with. We're still doing great for a lot of the brands that we work with. It's a great marketing vehicle just as much as it is a revenue driver. And a lot of the companies that are not digitally, or excuse me, that are digitally native, that have never experienced brick and mortar retail, they don't know about the legality of like loss prevention and staffing a store and, you know, point of sale and like hang tags and all these other things. So it was a great education for our clients. It was a great education for us. It's a great marketing vehicle for our clients. It's a great marketing vehicle for us. So we've seen The Nest as like a really positive thing kind of across the board.
It sounds like somewhat of a marketing laboratory in a way, where you've got a lot of these direct-to-consumer companies or who are just selling online. And so you've taken that whole concept and kind of flipped it on its head a little bit, it sounds like.
Yeah, well, we still believe fundamentally that the in-person retail experience matters. I think there's really great brands that are strong at in-person retail, right? You look at Nike, you look at REI, you look at these companies, they're good at in-person retail. Not everybody can be, because there's capital constraints. You can't build a climbing wall if you're a brand new upstart like outerwear company. That just doesn't work that way. So there's an obvious constraint, there's an upper threshold to how much of an amazing experience you can deliver. But if we can deliver an experience where there's like a curated group of brands, we think that that's exciting. I don't think that retail is dead. I see a lot of that stuff kind of get battied about. That's not true. People want to touch fabrics, people want to try stuff on. I think that there's a huge opportunity to make a retail experience impactful without sacrificing revenue or dollars or any of that other stuff.
Let's talk about social influencers a little bit. I assume some of your clients are involving social influencers, or you're recommending them. Curious to know your thoughts on, have social influencers jumped the shark a little bit? Have they lost their authenticity now that brands are involved?
The idea of having an influencer behind your brand just makes sense. If you just zoom out and you don't think about technology, does someone influential promoting my brand help my brand? Yes, of course, right? Inherently, that's true. If that's your best friend, somebody you golf with, somebody he plays soccer with, somebody he hangs out with at the movies, like anybody in a position of influence, sort of singing the praises of your brand or your product or your service, of course that's helpful. Instagram has been an amazing outlet for this. It was also true in Facebook, it was true in MySpace, it was true before that in blogs. I think that there's a natural life cycle to an influencer, depending on what their motives are, right? If somebody's just deciding to be in the public sphere for whatever reason, and then their star rises, inevitably their star falls, that has to do with a lot of externalities. If somebody's a promoter, right? If somebody's an influencer specifically to make money from promoting products, the life cycle is much easier to define, right? Somebody goes from essential obscurity to some level of influence. They get paid to promote things, get some level of conversion. Some agency or brand decides that that person is now of more note, pays them more. They ultimately get to a point where their entire actual organic audience knows that they're just a shill for whoever is the highest bidder, and then that's when it jumps the shark. That's when there's this natural decline and it goes away from there.
With so much e-commerce channeled into social, such as Instagram shopping, what do you see the future of e-commerce?
We will continue to see a high volume of retail online, right? Whether that goes from 60-40 retail digital to 60-40 digital retail, or it normalizes around 50-50, or it swings back and forth, TBD. But I think both are essential. I'll go on record saying I don't think brick and mortar will ever die. I think that that's a critical part of sales, especially product sales. So e-commerce will continue to evolve. I think that the more people lean on Amazon as the low-cost provider, right? Sort of a race to the bottom. I think there will be a proportional pullback from that place to brands and unique kind of brand experiences and scarcity. Yeah. I think that there isn't homogenized loyalty to a single brand in the same way that there was 30 or 40 or 50 years ago. Before, there may have been one brand that was seen as like the zenith of a specific category. But if you care about the watch you wear or the shoes you wear or the car you drive, there will always be brand affinity around those things. Yeah. So I think e-commerce will be alive and well for a very, very long time. And I don't think that it's going to be swallowed up in its entirety by Apple and Amazon and Google. I think that that's pretty naive, right?
Are there any, in addition to a marketer, you're kind of a tech guy as well, are there any technologies, current or ones that are upcoming, that you're excited about, that you see affecting marketing directly over the next 3 to 5 years?
The short term is like marketing automation and social listening, and there's been studies done about, does Facebook actually listen to you and then serve ads based on that, even though you haven't clicked on them or not?
Right.
I mean, the truth is, there's a lot of devices in our home. 40 years ago, the big fear was like, oh, Big Brother is listening to us. And now it's like, let's get an Alexa and a phone and a camera. And let's have 30 devices in our house that can hear us. So yeah, inevitably, those are marketing tools. And whether that's sort of publicly acknowledged or not, like those are marketing tools. So I think the continued ability to more robustly and discreetly target audiences based on a variety of metrics is going to continue to be a big thing. And then I'm interested in, GDPR is a big regulatory thing that happened in Europe. CCPA is the California equivalent, which is where we're sitting now. Great spot, by the way, by the beach. CCPA is a real thing, right? And there's a lot of confusion, even from attorneys in California, about how that matters. This is the 8th largest economy in the world, and CCPA applies to all of California. There's going to be some that happens from that, right? That's more legal than technical, but I think they're very much interrelated about who you can target and how you can target them and what information you can capture. And the whole notion of capturing purchase intent or data about a consumer and then how to leverage that in your marketing efforts that's a battle that'll be fought for the next 18 months or so.
And are your clients looking to you to help them understand it better? Like, we know what GDPR was for the UK, and
we're very specifically not a law firm, right? But there will be an entire cottage industry built in California around CCPA compliance and helping businesses. I think we're grossly underprepared for it. I mean, not us as a company.
Right.
We've been the second it was talked about, we know what's up, and we've been making clients aware. But at the same time, we're not taking on the liability that these companies are creating by storing and warehousing data. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are sleeping on it, but 2020 is going to come up real fast.
Yes, it is. Hardest question of the whole interview: are there any books, podcasts, or blogs that you're excited about that you want to share with our viewers?
I really like. There's a podcast called the Meat Eater Podcast by a guy named Steve Rinella. Okay. And I fancy myself a bit of a outdoorsman, and I think it's a very nice take on how to be a responsible, ethical hunter and take animals for meat and all that kind of thing. So Meat Eater Podcast with Stephen Rinella, really good.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
My guest today has been Tony Delmarcado, co-founder and COO of Hawke Media. Tony, appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me out.